Things are about to pop in Albany. Governor Hochul's State of the State is a week from today, and then the legislature kicks into high gear. The public radio stations around New York are better prepared than ever to cover all that action in state government that affects your life. We have two Albany veterans, Jimmy Vielkind and John Campbell, really some of the best journalists in the state. And we just hired a third reporter who grew up in New York and is ready to take on Albany. We meet our newest New York Public News Network reporter, Samuel King, on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Morja Wealth Management, serving the North Country for 3 generations. MorjaWM.com. Securities offered through Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Hightower is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Tuesday, January 6th. First up, the St. Lawrence Seaway has begun clearing ice along the St. Lawrence River as severe winter conditions delay the end of the Seaway's navigation season. It was set to end on Monday, but WWNY-TV reported several freighters are stuck in the ice near Cape Vincent. According to the Seaway Ship Watchers Network, ice is also building up in the locks. It caused a ship to get stuck in the Iroquois Lock between Ogdensburg and Waddington. That lock is controlled by the Canadian side of the Seaway. On the American side, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system says the public should avoid areas where the ice has been cleared, as it may cause open water, leading to unstable ice cover for ice fishing and snowmobiling. A luge athlete based in Lake Placid won her second gold medal of the season last weekend. Summer Britcher was also part of a relay team that won bronze at the World Cup in Latvia. As Emily Russell reports, American luge athletes have one more weekend of races to qualify for the upcoming Winter Olympics.
The luge track in Latvia is fast and unforgiving. American Emily Fischnaller, who's from Lake Placid, was in 4th place before she crashed on her second run.
She's desperately trying to stay on the sled, isn't she?
Video from the International Luge Federation showed Fischnaller walking off the track, apparently uninjured, but her crash disqualified her from the race.
You just feel so sorry for her. You can see how close to the edge these athletes are racing, how far they're pushing it.
Up next was her fellow American teammate, Summer Britcher. Despite the crash right before her run, Britcher looked focused. She set up her sled and pushed off for her final run at the World Cup race on Sunday.
We knew this would be exciting and super tight. Britcher has just watched her teammate crash. Can she hold herself together here?
Britcher was in 3rd place going into this run. She gained speed as she steered herself down the track.
Yes, Summer building here. That start curve gave her some acceleration.
Britcher's sled wobbled slightly in the spot where Fischnaller crashed, but she quickly regained control. As Britcher barreled across the finish line, she had a big smile on her face.
She's done it. She gets ahead of Fravel. Farquharson still in 3rd. Summer Britcher knows just how good that was.
It was not only good enough to win her gold, but it was also the fastest women's run of the weekend. After her race, Britcher said she was surprised to see that she had won gold.
I really did not think it was going to happen, and I tried really hard to not think about the results.
Those results put her at the top of the overall World Cup standings this season. Britcher was also part of a mixed relay team in Latvia that earned bronze. Her teammate, Zach DiGregorio, credited Britcher with giving their team a big boost.
I think Team USA does a great job in relays, so we saw Summer had tons of speed, so she led us off, gave us a nice good lead, and we followed through and got up to 3rd place.
Johnny Gustafson, who grew up in Messina, was part of that relay team that won bronze. Last weekend was the 4th of 5 Olympic qualifying races for luge athletes. Summer Britcher is now considered a shoo-in for the upcoming Winter Games since she also won gold at a World Cup in Park City last month. The last time an American woman medaled at the Olympics was more than a decade ago, in 2014, when Erin Hamlin won a bronze medal. The final qualifying races are this weekend in Germany. USA Luge is expected to announce its Olympic team next week before the Winter Games in Italy begin 1 month from today. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
North Country Public Radio is a part of the New York Public News Network. That's a group of more than a dozen public media stations around the state that collaborate and share news with each other. We also share a few reporters who are focused on covering our state government in Albany. And one of them is brand new. We introduce you to Samuel King, who's had a few jobs in public radio, but most recently came to us from WSLS News 10 TV in Roanoke, Virginia. He sat down for a conversation with the network's Brian Sharp.
Hey, Samuel.
Hey, Brian.
Welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for, hiring me, I guess.
Well, let's start with some background. You're from New York originally, graduated from Northwestern in Chicago. You've worked in a number of states, right?
Yes, worked in here in New York and in New York City. Also worked in Minnesota and in Texas and in public radio in Kansas City as well. And most recently I was in Virginia in television, so I've worked in both local television, mostly commercial television, and also public media over the past few years.
So what brought you back to New York? Specifically, what interested you in covering the Capitol?
Well, I've always had an eye on returning to the Northeast at some point. I've lived. I always say I've lived over a lot of the eastern 2/3 of the country, but the Northeast has always felt like home. And at the same time, I've always had an interest in, state house reporting and that sort of reporting. And I felt it would be good to, take the experience I've learned elsewhere and bring it to the state where, I was born and grew up, and help explain state government to, people across the Empire State.
Now, this is going to be an interesting year. You're going to jump right into the new legislative session. It's a gubernatorial election year. You have a host of hot-button issues coming your way. What are you looking forward to?
Well, that's a good question, Brian. I think it's just being sort of in the Capitol, because as you just said, there's a lot going on. And, again, just helping people understand what's going on, because you mentioned sort of the first half of the year will probably be dominated by legislative discussions and the budget, and potentially closing budget gaps and sort of what state agencies are going to do and what impact that could or may not have on people. And then, also later in the year, as we get sort of in the heat of the election season, we've already seen, some changes in terms of who's running for governor. So especially at that level, and sort of what happens in some of the legislative races and such. And, there's a primary in the state comptroller's race. And so, both of those things, it's going to be unique coming to Albany at a time where there is so much going on.
No shortage of things to cover.
No.
What should listeners expect from your reporting?
Right, you ask very good questions. That's good. I'll have to steal some of these. No. I think I've always tried to get sort of the heart of the story and why this matters to people, and cut through some of the jargon and some of the things that people might not understand, and sort of why it impacts them. So that's what I'll be looking for. There will be a lot of just doing stories that sort of to get my feet wet as well. And so I think it'll be an interesting journey. We'll be finding our way, together in terms of, I have familiarity with the state, obviously, but, getting up to speed and that sort of thing. So definitely just trying to make sure that we're bringing news, what's not just important in Albany, but what's important to, the people across the state of New York.
That was the New York Public News Network's new Albany reporter, Samuel King. Samuel has already started work in the Capitol building, and you'll be hearing his voice a lot more starting this week. He spoke with Brian Sharp, his editor at WXXI in Rochester. We have more news all the time at ncpr.org. Music today by Patricia Julian of Burlington and Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.